Hey there, I'm Sandy Reese, Chief Encouragement Officer here at Get Fully Funded, where we help small nonprofits learn how to raise the money they need to fully fund their mission. I'm here to help you learn how to master the art and science of fundraising, and I've got a great tip for you in just a moment. But before we get to that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that the next time we post a really great tip like this one, you're among the first to know. Okay, on to this week's tip.
All right, when you're fundraising, it can be a lot of fun. It can be a little scary. One of the things that happens a lot of times to people is get a lot of ideas. It's very easy to get ideas. You've probably seen other groups do things to raise money. Maybe you've heard some ideas in groups like this, or you've been on Facebook, you've listened to a webinar, you've gotten a lot of ideas, right? And when you're new or you're first trying an idea, it's really easy to just throw something out, see if what happens. Does it work? Does it not? And what I find is that people tend to do things that they've seen before first. That's usually the first thing. And with just about anything in life, we all have enough knowledge to be dangerous in a lot of ways. Right? There's so many things that we know just a little bit about, and we think we know a lot more, and that little bit of knowledge gives us some confidence. We think we know how things should be. So what I want to do today is share with you 5 myths that I don't want you to believe. These are myths that will keep you stuck raising tiny little bits of money. I don't want you to do that. Around here, well, we're called Get Fully Funded because we believe that you ought to be able to raise all the money that you need to completely pay for everything, completely fund your budget, completely cover the cost of staff and equipment and supplies and whatever you need. That's how we roll around here. That's our big goal for you. So let's just jump right in and let me share some of these 5 myths, and you just see if any of these resonate for you. So the first one is, I see a lot of founders with this, I'm going to start a nonprofit because people will give just because it's a nonprofit. That is not true. Just because you get your status here in the US, it's 501c3 status. In another country, it might be something different. But a lot of people think just because they set something up as a nonprofit, the money is just going to pour in. It does not work that way. Now, 50 years ago, it was a little bit different because there weren't quite so many nonprofits. And there were people who were very community-minded, they were very charitable-minded, and they would give because that was the right thing to do. Today, there are literally millions of nonprofits around the world. And your job is to give people a reason to care. So people don't give just because you have tax status. They don't give just because you're a nonprofit. They give because you do something that touches their hearts. The work your organization does matters to them, and that's why they give. And that's why we talk a lot about donor-based fundraising. We talk a lot about building relationships and giving people a reason to care, giving them something to support that matters to them. So just because you have a nonprofit doesn't mean people are going to give. Number 2, people believe erroneously that you can raise a lot of money on sites like GoFundMe. Okay, crowdfunding. Let's talk about this a minute. Crowdfunding can be a good thing if you use it right, if you're strategic in it. But if you go over and set up a fundraiser and you think people are going to just come find you and give money, it doesn't work that way. Crowdfunding is a tool, but you still have to have the crowd to send over to that site. Because, listen, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, oh, I feel like giving some money away today. Where's the GoFundMe link? I'm just going to go find a good cause. Nobody does that. Yeah, there might be a couple of people who, are on those sites, but by and large, the people that you need to give the kind of donations that you're looking for, it doesn't work that way. If you're going to use a GoFundMe, if you're going to use any kind of tool like that, you set it up, you still have to share it. You have to share with your friends and your family and your followers and your board, your volunteers, whoever you can get to try to reach out to as many people as possible to use those sites. So I'm not saying don't use GoFundMe. I'm saying be smart about it. Have a strategy. So just because you post on GoFundMe doesn't mean you're going to have a ton of money flowing in. That's not how this works. Okay, myth number 3. Rich people are the best source of funds. I can't tell you how many people call our office and say, can you just give me a donor list? No, It doesn't work that way. We don't have a list of donors or a list of rich people, and that's not how this works. You see, people give based on the value that your nonprofit provides, not based on how much money they have or what their assets are or what their net worth is. They give because the thing that you do and their heart's desire match up. They match up. So don't go out in the community trying to find rich people. And what this usually looks like is folks go, well, we're just going to go get a list of all the rich people in town. We're going to send them a letter and they'll give. That is not going to work. I'm here to tell you. It is not going to work. In almost every town, every city, there are some zip codes that typically have high net worth neighborhoods or high net worth homes. And folks think, well, I'll just get that list and we'll mail a letter. It doesn't work that way. And the reason is, number one, not everybody gives to charity. And number two, they don't give to your organization based on how much money they have. They give based on what tugs their heart. So it actually makes more sense for you to go find people who care about your cause, regardless of how much money they have. Because when you do that, when you focus on the people who care about your cause, you're going to find the ones who have some discretionary income to give. You'll find the ones that will find a way to support your organization. So that's myth number 3. Rich people are the best source of funds. It's not true. Don't focus on how much you think somebody can give. Focus on how much you think they can care. Good. It's an important distinction. Okay. Myth number 4. People think that they can fund their nonprofit completely with grants. Don't do that. Don't expect that you can do that, especially for those of you who have a new or young nonprofit. You are not going to get grant money right out the door. Most funders want to see at least 3 years of experience under your belt before they're going to give you a grant. So don't think that you're just going to go get a list of grants somewhere and you're going to send them all a letter about what you're doing. You're going to be rolling in the money. It doesn't work that way. Grants are extremely competitive. They do require a specific strategy. Now, can you get grants for specific things as your organization grows? Yes, you can. And I'm a big believer that you ought to go do the research and see what foundations are out there that are a really good match for what you're trying to fund, and invite them to support what you're doing. It is an art and a science. And I'll be really honest, it took me probably about 12 to 15 months of writing grants before I figured it out back in the day. And when I figured it out and I got good at it, I got really good at it, and I got a lot of grants. In fact, I was getting about 7 out of every 10 grants that I applied for. Now, there's a lot that went into that. I was very careful about which ones that I went after. I built relationships every opportunity I could, and I made sure that I was presenting a good narrative and a good budget. So I was explaining our project in words and in numbers, and that worked really well. So I want you to be really careful. Don't think that you can completely fund your organization with grants. I don't care how old your organization is, it's not going to work. People call here all the time and say, I just need you to go get me some grants. And when we start digging into it, we find out it's a brand new organization, and we say to them, you need to go do some grassroots fundraising first. You need to go build your donor base. You need to get some people around you who care, because that's going to be the best way to bring in those dollars when your organization is young. Now, if you're here in this group, that's great. That tells me you're smart. You're looking for answers, and we do share a lot of stuff here. We also share a lot of stuff over on our blog at getfullyfunded.com. Every week we write an article to help you build your ongoing fundraising activities. So yes, go after the grants you can, but you're not going to completely fund your organization with grants, and you don't want to do that. We've had 2 organizations in the last 15 years who have showed up because they were living off of a grant from the state that they were in. The budget changed, that grant either decreased or went away, and all of a sudden those organizations were at risk of closing their doors. And that's when they called us, and it was a struggle both times to try to help them stay afloat. I don't want that for you. So don't try to live off of grants. All right, myth number 5. A lot of people believe that because it's a nonprofit, they're supposed to struggle, that they're supposed to operate on a shoestring, and that is not true. You do not have to only get the cheapest thing or only take what you can get donated in kind or always feel like an orphan. Remember that movie Oliver, where he's like, "Please, sir, can I have some more?" It doesn't have to be that way. Yeah, things might be tight in the first couple of years, especially if you're using funds out of your own pocket to get your nonprofit started, or if you're in another similar situation where you just don't have a lot of money. It can be tight. There's a difference between it being tight and you begging for every little scrap that you can get. And it's a mindset issue. You don't have to struggle just because you run a nonprofit. It is okay to have all the funds you need. It is okay to buy new furniture for your office as long as you spend it within reason and you're being good steward of your resources. It is okay as a founder for you to get paid for the work that you do. But you got to be smart about it. You got to be smart about planning for where the revenue is coming from and how you're going to manage that revenue once it comes into your organization. So don't buy into that myth that you have to struggle. All right, so let me recap these 5 myths for you. The first one is, just because you have a nonprofit, people are going to give. Not true. You can raise a lot of money on GoFundMe. Also not true. Rich people are the best source of funds. Not true. You can fully fund your organization from grants. Not true. You have to struggle if you operate a nonprofit. Not true. So there you go. 5 myths that I hope you're not believing. And if you're looking for, okay, how do I debunk this? How do I do something different? You're going to find the answers to all of that over at getfullyfunded.com. We have tons of free resources on the website. There's all kinds of blog articles that will answer all of those questions and give you resources so you can move forward. But the first thing is you have to understand those are myths and you need to let them go so you can go do something different. See you later. Bye.